As I was walking at work, the Lord drew my attention to the grass pictured here. And I couldn't understand why, because in my mind, there was nothing different about this grass. It's just ordinary grass. But God drew my attention to the fact that there was a path created in the midst of this grass. The path here is not part of the landscaping process, but this grass pictured here that had a path made was because people constantly, through their movement up and down on this route, made a path by their trampling of their feet. And God brought my mind back to the scripture in Luke chapter 10, verse 19, where Jesus says to his disciples, "Look, I have given you the authority to trample on snakes and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy. Nothing at all will harm you." And even as Jesus gave these words to his disciples during his earthly ministry, the same still applies for us today as his disciples in 2025. God has given us power and authority over all the power of the enemy as believers in Jesus Christ. And many times we petition and we ask God, like if we don't understand our authority. Ask God, can he please move this out of the way? And God sometimes is like, but I've given you the power. You have the power and the authority to declare and decree a thing, and it is established. I have given you the power and the authority over the enemy. So it requires us at times to exercise our faith. It's not every time that we come before God and we beg him and we plead for him to remove something out of the way that he's actively going to move it on our behalf. Sometimes he needs us to exercise our muscles of faith and speak to the mountain, to speak to the things in our lives. Sometimes he's calling us to trample over those things that have arisen up. Here in this picture, the grass was overgrown, but even in the midst of the grass being overgrown and needing to be cut and pruned, there was a path that was still created because of the constant trampling of people over time. And I come to remind someone today, don't sit still where God has called you to trample. Don't become complacent in the areas that God has called you to trample and take authority over. Don't let situations in your life get so out of control and overgrown like this grass here when God has called you to trample